Welcome back to Mastering Sales. I'm Brent Gove, your host, and today we have a special guest. I'm looking for him on here. Hopefully he's logged. There he is. There he is. Mr. Brian Moses, everybody. Brian, how you doing?
Hey, Brent, how are you? It's great
I'm
to see you.
doing great. Now, if you can, before we go too far, go up to view, everybody. Go to view in the right-hand top of your screen and click on the word speaker. And then that way you won't be distracted by like the 40 boxes in front of you and you could focus in on Brian. And Brian, real quick, before I have you give pro tips for mastering sales, tell everyone a little about your background because you guys are truly hearing from a savant. Tell them a little, brag a little. I'm asking you to brag a little bit, okay, buddy?
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, like everybody, I struggled early on trying to figure it out. But I had some great coaches and mentors in my life. I shadowed some of the best people in the business. I remember once following Marshall Redder around, and he did 17 listings in 2 days, and I was blown away. So I became a student of the game and I studied from the best. Then I went outside the industry and learned from Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, Tony Robbins, Chet Holmes. Had the great fortune to work directly for Anthony Robbins and Chet Holmes for 3 years of my life and learned more in those 3 years about driving sales, revenues, and profits than I have in my entire adult life.
Not
Had a
everybody
pretty
knows, hold on. Not everybody knows who Chet Holmes is. He wrote the book, I believe it was called How to Build a $1 billion Sales Machine or something like that. And he built $2 billion companies from scratch. The guy is incredible. He did tragically pass away from cancer or something, but he was a very special human being. Keep going. I just want to know who Chet Holmes was. That what a gift that would have been.
But even prior to that, I had a good real estate career, and I dreamed. I believe that anything's possible, and I shoot for the stars. And sometimes I fall a little bit short, but a lot of people haven't been to the moon. So when you shoot for the stars and land on the moon, it's a pretty good life. We sold over 400 homes a year in the late 90s. Number two agent in the world for Caldwell Banker in New Hampshire, not in San Francisco or Dallas or LA or Miami, but in Nashua, New Hampshire. Some of you don't even know where that is. So it's been great, and now I coach and train and give back. I'm a giver. If I can support you in any way, you can call me anytime. I told Brent, anytime, any place. You get by giving. You just did an amazing call on that, Brent. Your 4 points. I hope everybody's coming to Cabo, but I'm excited to hear your other
Thank you.
12 too. I'm
Yeah,
always
baby.
learning.
I'll work on those next week on the 1% Club. We'll get to them. I just tried to roll my. Okay, so we want to hear from you, man. What's your advice for these guys in the area of sales, either buyer, seller, have at it. The floor is yours.
Okay, so when you asked me to do this, I wanted to give them something that they never heard before. This is a hack that I learned over time. My wife calls me the king of baby stepping. And, we've been married going on 30 years, so she can see my baby steps coming a mile away. And she'll say, stop it. Like, you're going to ask me a bunch of questions where I'm going to say, yes, 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 yes. And then I'm going to Cabo. So I like to baby step people because it's really easy to get a little yes momentum than a big yes momentum. So I just had a call with a friend that Brent introduced me to, and he says, Brian, I've got this seller prospect, but they just won't put the house on the market. How many of you have a database of prospects and they just won't put the house on the market? So here's what I'd like you to do. If you call them and go, hey, Brent, are you ready to put the house on the market? They're going to go, no, we're not ready. Call me in another 2 months. We're going to wait till April or May. And their motivation is never your motivation. So if you'd like to accelerate results, try this little pro tip hack. Go, hey, Brent, I was wondering, I know you weren't planning on putting the house on the market yet, but I was wondering if I could share with one of my buyers that you're considering selling your home at the price that we talked about, or we could come up with a price. But there are buyers looking in your area. You're in hot demand. And if I had a buyer that would be a match. Would it be okay? Could I have your permission to let him know you're thinking about it? Brent says, sure, right? You can get that seller to say yes to that. Fantastic. If you've gone over price, you confirm the price, you can confirm your fee. I'll be by tomorrow, Brent, to get permission for me to share that with my buyer. Because we need permission, don't we? We can't just do it on a verbal. I need to know what the price is, and I need to know what my commission is. Now, if you haven't discussed price and commission, you're going to go over there tomorrow to discuss price and commission so that you can articulate it to one buyer. When you get there, you're going to continue down that track, and you're going to go almost like you had an afterthought. Hey, Brent, is getting the most amount of money important to you? I know we're talking about 1.25, but is getting all the meat off the bone important to you and your family?
Yes.
Well, price is a function of supply and demand, and the more demand you get on your home, the better price you'll receive. Do you really care who buys your house?
Nope.
So I'd like to share it with a couple of the buyers that I have in mind, but would it be okay if I shared it with my other EXP colleagues?
How many do you have?
Well, I have a couple, but I don't know who at my company might be working with buyers. But the more demand you get on your house, the better your price you'll receive. And while we're at it, there's no obligation for you to accept any offer. But if I could syndicate your property to about 200 different websites, I'm pretty sure that I could increase the demand and almost create a bidding war for you. And when you have more buyers, you'll get the price you want and you'll be able to close when you want to. Would that be okay? So
Yeah.
now you're back in their house, and that's how I advance them to the listing. Now the permission agreement is a listing agreement, but I just water it down. Does anybody have any questions on that?
If you have a
It
question,
works.
hit reaction and raise your hand.
It
Like I'm
works
gonna.
like
Yeah.
magic. All right, I
So,
wrote down another one for you too.
okay.
So on the buyer side, anybody have any listing agents in your market that are not offering buyer agency compensation? They don't have the skills to articulate to their seller that it's actually an advantage to them, and they just take whatever they can get, the little bit of breadcrumbs. So they've got a listing. Hey, we're not offering compensation. Well, let's say that the price of the house is 700,000, and your buyer fee is 3% for round numbers, and you can charge whatever you want. I don't want to get into pricing. That's your prerogative. Real estate fees are negotiable, and you can determine what your worth is and determine it. But it's 700,000 times 3%, that's $21,000. If you are showing your buyer a property as a traditional real estate agent, and you go, hey, they're not offering buyer agency compensation. My fee's 21,000. You think that buyer's going to be thrilled about that news? They will be if you can articulate more than $21,000 in value, though. Right, Brent, if I gave you $100 and you could keep the $100 bill, but you had to give me $50 back, would you do that?
Sure.
How many of you on the call would do that? So if a buyer has to give me $21,000, would they be more likely, more willing to do that if I could show them $40,000 in savings,
Sure.
$100,000 in savings, $250,000 in savings? So a couple
Yeah.
of things that I do when I work with a buyer and I'm signing them up to a buyer agreement, when I'm doing my buyer presentation, I say, it's great to meet you guys. Is minimizing out-of-pocket expenses important to you? So jot that down. Is minimizing out-of-pocket expenses important to you? Yeah, that's important to me. Well, you know that you're looking at $700,000 properties. There's costs associated with real estate. You have mortgage costs, you have inspection costs, you have closing costs. There's all kinds of costs that are the burden of the buyer. So when you end up buying a $700,000 home, you understand that you pay way more than $700,000 for that home, right? And they go,
Yep.
yeah, you're depressing me. Well, don't be depressed. You're in the right place at the right time because my focus as a real estate expert is to help you minimize your out-of-pocket expenses. Can I share with you a few ways that we do that? And
Yeah.
they'll say, tell me more. They'll lean into you and go, oh, you're talking my language now. So I take credit, gang, for everything. Back in the 90s, I wrote down everything that I did that added value to my prospects and clients. So in the buyer presentation, I'll give you a bunch of examples. I'll say, well, you mentioned that you were approved by Quicken Loans when we spoke on the phone. I've not had any experience with them, but one of the ways that we minimize your expenses in the process is we work with approved and vetted affiliates. And I work closely with a real estate mortgage lender that specializes in our area. They don't do credit cards, they don't do car loans, they don't do other financing. They specialize in real estate. And what that means to you, Brent, is that they can be more competitive as it relates to interest rates and closing costs than many other institutions. Do you know that even an eighth of a percent on a $700,000 mortgage over the life of the loan is over $100,000 in unnecessary interest? So are you committed to Quicken Loans or are you open to these types of savings?
Wow. Very good. Did you
And
say
then
a
I
hundred
say,
thousand dollars?
take an eighth of a percent over a 30-year mortgage and come up with the numbers. Now, I think I saw Dave Lawson here. He's selling $5 and $6 million houses, right? You use that, dude. We saved the buyer $1 million in that example. So now, when that's just one, and then I say their closing costs typically are $3,000 to $5,000 lower than other institutions. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not saying it's the fact. I'm saying that in my experience, compared to other institutions, I don't know how it compares to Quicken Loans, but that relationship that I have that I'll share with you can be significant. Another thing that we do is we give you a list of our approved and vetted contractors and affiliates. Do you think you'll be doing anything to improve or repair this home over your ownership over the next 3 to 5 years? Yeah, we'll probably do something. Great. Would it be helpful to know people that you can trust, that you can count on? Like they're not going to gouge you, they're not going to take you to the cleaners. Have you ever heard the horror stories about how a roofer says they want a 50% deposit and then they never show up after they collect 15 grand? That's horrible. So we make sure, and then I say, are you starting to see that the real estate agent you work with makes a difference? How's that for a mic drop? They were about to work with their sister who got licensed, while she wasn't being a hairdresser. No offense to any hairdressers, but part-timers, right? I'm going to own this prospect because I'm speaking what's in it for them. So we have a contractors list. Would you like that? We'll offer you a home warranty. When is it likely that things go wrong? Right after you close on the property? Now, I'm not saying I'm paying for the home warranty. I'm having the seller pay for the home warranty. We're going to make it available to you. Do you know how a home warranty works, Mr. Buyer? No, I'm not really sure. Well, it covers many of the mechanical components of the home, and for a small deductible, you're protected if your furnace goes, if your air conditioning compressor goes. How much is an air conditioning compressor? Any idea? How about a furnace or a water heater? Do you have any idea? Give me a number. You get $20,000, maybe on the light side, but let's just use that as a number. So if we could save you $20,000 by having a small deductible, would that be something you'd want to know more about? So are you seeing that all real estate agents aren't the same and the agent you work with matters? And Brent, are you comfortable with my skills and qualifications, or would you like to hear more?
I'm good. You're perfect.
Okay, so those are a couple of pro tips for working with the buyer and articulating your value.
Outstanding. By the way, I would add sometimes if I really wanted them. One of the neat things about me, and I'm probably the only agent in New Hampshire, in Sacramento does this, is I make sure you get a second year warranty. So you're going to actually be covered for 2 years on your property. And if I want them
Ooh,
bad enough and it's competitive, I go, everyone else won. I mean, I'm not aware of a single agent does this, but this is a gift I will give to you for your family's safety and security. You will not have to worry 2 years. And I simply buy an extra year for them and cost you $300, $400 or whatever. But if you pick up a $1.2 million buyer, 800, it depends upon the buyer, but well worth it. It's a little side note. Yeah.
love
Awesome.
it.
Brian, so good, man. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And we did our 10 minutes. We did about 15. That was A plus. And by the way, now you do coaching and training, right? You actually do some of that. Can you tell people what you
I
do and
do.
see who your
Yeah,
ideal candidate is if they want to reach out to you?
well, my ideal candidate is anybody who's wants more in life, right? You want more. So I have a group program that's affordable that people can get this type of curriculum and training.
Very
I,
good.
I don't just coach and say you need a listing presentation, you need to have compelling offers. Yeah, you need that, but I tell you what, I give you examples of what those sound like, what those look like, and it's all transcribed, it's recorded, you can dive into it. It's a home study course, it's inexpensive. And then I have one-on-one coaching, but I am the coach. I don't have 500 coaches under me all telling you to do something different. I haven't
Love it.
figured out how to scale me in my experience, and I care deeply. So I have a great job, and if you're doing $250,000 or more a year in income, I don't want you to be worried about putting food on the table. One-on-one coaching, you can reach out to me. But if you just if you have a question, I'll hop on a call with you. Like I care. I want to make a difference. I'm a
Love
giver.
it. I
So
love it.
I also don't let people
So
take
group
advantage.
coaching is for people maybe making under $250,000, and then
Yeah,
one-on-one
under a
coaches
quarter
for
of a
people
million, but they
making.
they need yeah, they need systems and processes. So I have two opportunities for you depending on where you're at. And I
Sweet. What's your?
specialize in,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead,
I was gonna
lead
say
generation.
I'm putting your phone number in the chat. What's your cell phone number, real quick?
Just email would be great.
Okay.
Brian at brianmoses.com is my private email address.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Keep going. You were saying
Brian
something
at
interesting.
Brian. So lead generation, right? There are motivated buyers and sellers in your market right now, and I can show you how to get them to raise their hand and identify themselves. So I don't chase, I don't beg, I don't hunt my sphere of influence or, you know, burden my past clients. Not that those are horrible strategies. I just have better, I found better ways. Lead conversion and client acquisition. And then I can also, depending on your goals, help you grow your average sales price so you have better quality of leads. I think we'd all agree that an $800,000 buyer is better than a $400,000 buyer. They have better jobs, they have better income. And, I do in real estate discriminate by price, not by
Yeah,
family origin, sex, gender, but by price. I don't want to sell $400,000 homes. That's okay for other people, or you build a team, but I don't want to do that. I want to work less, be with my wife and my kids. And the best
beautiful.
part of raising your average sales price, gang, is guess who $800,000 people hang around with? Other $800,000 people. So when you get referrals, you're getting quality referrals. So
Love it.
yeah, I'd love to hear if I can support any of you. Feel free. I'll be in Cabo too. Come say
Come
hi.
on, walk up to him. Walk up to him in Cabo at the beach, the pool, the spa. You'll see him at the event, at breakfast, lunch. He's around. He's a good dude. I put his email in the chat, everyone. That's brian@brianmoses.com. If you make under $250,000, you might want to do his group coaching program. It's super affordable. And if you make over $250,000 and you want to go on to $500,000 or $1 million a year, he's done all that. Then you could talk to him about one-on-one coaching. And Brian, roughly how many homes have you sold in your career? I mean, well over 1,000, right? Yeah.
3,500.
Yeah, that's thousands and thousands and thousands. He's an absolute superstar. Known him for years. He's always been inspiring to me. He is my inspiration. He's such a great, he's one of those people and a handful of people that have had a profound impact on my career. I could not give him a bigger thumbs up. And so, all right, everyone, for the sake of time, we are over. Brian Moses, thank you. And you're awesome. And reach out to Brian. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye-bye.